and they are cooking the ballot boxes on Election Day. They're manufacturing absentee ballots. They're voting in the names of people named Donald Duck because they want to control politics and thwart progress. This is from Artur Davis. I want to talk to you about the worst thing that could possibly happen to us. It is the way George Soros always operates when he collapses a government. What he does is he does it around an election time, and you have an election like 2000, and it tears it apart, and then the entire thing falls apart. We didn't fall apart last time, but I'm telling you, we will fall apart this time if this is a close election. And we have people down in West Palm that are, examining Chads again. It will not go well for the country. It cannot be decided by the Supreme Court. It will push us into civil war. It would. Now, how accurate is the election even going to be? One thing that nobody's talking about, except a guy who has been studying this forever, John Funn. He used to be with the Wall Street Journal. Now he's with National Review. And he's got a new book out called Who's Counting, where he has put together all of the research and everything that he has done over the last few years, put it together to make sure that somebody is watching the voter count. John, welcome to the program. How are you?
Pleasure, Glenn. The good news is we can still do something in the next 50 days to make our election more accurate and reduce the level of bureaucratic bungling and fraud.
Okay, so
the bad news is we're not yet doing it.
All right, so before you get to what we have to do, how likely do you think it is that we have a Florida-style election this time?
Well, if the election is close, it'll probably be close in more than Florida. The only reason we didn't have more legal fights in 2000 was nobody had enough lawyers to cover all of that. Now both sides, Glenn, are going to have up to 10,000 lawyers monitoring this election. Now, a candidate no longer has to win with a margin of victory. They have to win with a margin beyond litigation. Obama has boasted, he has thousands of lawyers out there. He's the former lawyer for Acorn, you might remember, when he was a civil rights lawyer. I believe if the election is close, people are going to go to court, and we could see this election contest go on for days, even weeks, even the 47 days that it took in the year 2000.
John, personal opinion, I don't think that we survive another 2000. I think we'll tear each other apart.
There'd be three factors that would make things worse. One is you'd have an African-American president, and all of the charges and countercharges of racism versus fraud. Then, of course, you'd have the fact that you'd have news media and the Internet and MSNBC that would be stoking all of this, and on Fox to some extent on the other side. And I think in the end, you'd have 45% of the country convinced that our president was illegitimate. And we have economic problems, Glenn. We can't possibly have that happen because we need leadership in this country to fix our problems.
There was a story out that the Blaze, I thought, did a good job debunking, but I thought of you immediately. I wanted to know your opinion on this. There was a story out just last week that showed that George Soros was involved in some of these voting machines and that his company over in Spain was actually involved in the counting process. The Blaze debunked that. What is your knowledge of that, if anything?
Well, I want to commend you and the Blaze for doing that because what really matters is what's true. And people can come up with conspiracy theories and all kinds of stuff, but evidence counts. That story was, basically an internet sensation. It didn't have basis in reality. What does have a basis in reality is we have places in this country where votes are routinely stolen. They're called Philadelphia. They're called Chicago. They're called Milwaukee. They're called St. Louis. We have to worry about old-fashioned vote stealing far more than we do about software problems with computers. I do think we need more open-source coding on computers. I do think we need better electronic voting machines, but that's not our major problem this November.
What is a major problem? Give me a couple of examples from the book that are major problems.
Well, Glenn, history was changed in 2008 when Al Franken, after an 8-month legal battle and all kinds of shenanigans, was sworn in as U.S. Senator in Minnesota. He provided the 60th vote for Obamacare. They needed 60 votes to break the filibuster against Obamacare. They did it on Christmas Eve in the dead of night. And we learned after Obamacare passed that Al Franken was elected in part because 1,100 felons voted illegally. We can't be sure how they voted, but when Fox News went out and interviewed a bunch of them, 9 out of 10 said they voted for Al Franken. So not only is voter fraud something that can destroy the people's confidence in the integrity of an election, it can change history. We would not have Obamacare in its current form if Al Franken hadn't, I think, been improperly seated in the U.S. Senate.
Okay, so what are people doing, and what should regular people do?
Well, the first thing people should do is vote. The second thing they should do is help to make sure their vote isn't canceled out by someone who doesn't exist, someone who's an illegal alien, someone who's a felon who shouldn't be voting, someone who's voting twice, someone who's impersonating someone else.
So how do they do that? Because I mean, you already have the Justice Department coming out and saying you can't do any of this. They're saying that voter ID, which everybody is for, voter ID is racist.
Well, there are three things they can do. One, almost all voter fraud prosecutions are done at the county level. People can contact their county prosecutor and say, I hope you're watching this election. I hope you actually pay attention to who's voting. We have to have an honest and fair election. Second, there are groups out there. There's Judicial Watch. There's TrueTheVote.org. These are people who are suing states asking to clean up their voter rolls. They're also recruiting volunteers to go through the voter registration rolls. Glenn, did you know we have 2 million dead people on our voter registration rolls? That's not my number. That's the Pew Research Center's number. They're a liberal group. Look, I believe in respecting the dead, but I do not believe in representation without respiration.
But if I'm not mistaken, there's almost 3 million people. I got this from your book, so I don't think I could be mistaken. 3 million people who are registered to vote in multiple states.
We just learned that a congressional candidate for the Democrats in Maryland had to resign her position because she had voted in both Maryland and Florida 4 different times. If a congressional candidate will do that, who else will do it?
Okay. So you call your county and you say, are you watching? But, I mean...
Well, I think you can volunteer. True the Vote and is trying to recruit 500,000 people around the country to do 3 things. One, show up at the polls and make sure things are kosher.
Who's True the Vote? Who are they?
It's a group founded in Texas, but went nationwide. It's founded by Catherine Engelbrecht, who's a mom and a business owner, and she was so worried about people voting from vacant lots and Acorn-style voter registration scandals in her home city of Houston that she formed this group. They have thousands of volunteers. They are monitoring the polls. They're also going through the voter registration list, making sure they're accurate. The Pew Research Center says 1 out of 8 registrations are either invalid or contain major errors. We can have a cleaner election if we have a cleaner list and if we have more people watching. It's just like shoplifting. You take some preventative measures, you can reduce shoplifting dramatically just because people know someone is watching.
Okay, so you talk about Artur Davis in the book an awful lot, and I know that he also endorsed the book. Here's a guy who knows it from the other side. This isn't a Republican or Democrat problem. This is an American problem.
No, I mean, I'd point out in the hollows of Kentucky, there was a methamphetamine gang that bought a bunch of Republican politicians and convinced them to steal elections so that they would leave the methamphetamine gang alone in the local county. So it is a bipartisan problem. What Artur Davis does, though, is bring the following experience. He's not just a Democrat. He is the Democrat who seconded Barack Obama's nomination for president in 2008 at the Denver Convention. He has become so disgusted with the Justice Department's failure to go after the new Black Panther case, to go after voter fraud, and he has witnessed voter fraud in his home district. He represents, Glenn, the Selma, Alabama. He represented Selma, Alabama, the place with the National Voting Rights Museum, where Martin Luther King fought for people to get the right to vote in the 1960s. I commend those gains, but now we have a new problem. We have political machines run by both whites and blacks that keep minority voters down by stealing their votes. You can't fight City Hall if City Hall will steal your votes. There are people condemned to bad public schools, bad roads, bad services because they can't fight the machine, because every time they fight the machine, their votes are stolen.
Name of the book is Who's Counting? An important book. Everybody has to stand watch on something. I don't know what it is that appeals to you. History is what appeals to me. John has been on this vote count thing for a long, long time, ringing a warning bell, and is standing guard there. If this is something that you say, that's my role, I want to make sure, grab this book and get involved. It's called Who's Counting by John Funn. John, thank you as always.
A pleasure, Glenn. Thanks, and keep up your good work.
Thank you. We'll talk to you again. All right.